Hello, everybody, and happy Friday. As the Jews would say, I am partly Jewish. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Problem Solve Her. I'm your co-host, Chloe, along with...
Dagmar. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
You know what, Chloe? Let's talk today about rejection because I think it's a big thing for women in general. And I think it would be good to share different approaches just when we get stuck, that we have something we can think about. What do you think?
I love that. I think that rejection is, and I don't want to say it's harder for women than it is for men, but I think in business, sometimes it is harder for women, and we take it maybe a little bit more personally and more from an emotional standpoint. And rejection is such a huge part of life. And I appreciate you bringing up the topic today because I'd like to share a story of rejection that it's over 20 years ago, but you don't forget these things, right?
Right.
And then I'd like to hear, because you give such sound advice back, I want to hear your takeaway from my story and what you think. So I happened to be speaking with my nephew the other day, who's graduating high school and going off to college in the fall in Manhattan. Okay. And I said to him very specifically, I want to prepare you for rejection. He's like, rejection? What's that? I'm going to start basketball, but rejection. All the ladies, oh, what's rejection? And I remember, and I'm going back to literally the very early 2000s when I just graduated from college and I wanted to apply to be a page. And I want to explain what that is in the short version. So a page is, so NBC is one of the oldest networks in the United States. I think it was actually the first network in like the 1920s. And they have what's called the page program. It's a 1-year program for people that have just graduated college and they're in their early 20s. You work there for 1 year. And I don't want to say they pay you a stipend, but it's somewhat like that. But you're getting an experience to work on all these huge behind the scenes TV shows, The Tonight Show, The Today Show, Jimmy Fallon Show, Saturday Night Live, and they give you all these tasks. And after the year, you may be hired to work on one of the shows. Only 1.5% that apply make it past the third round to the fourth round, and then they get in. So
That's right.
Oh, it's like, and I was so young. If I had the confidence that I have now, I would have gotten in. So looking back, I made it to the last round and I was lucky enough. You have to, I don't want to say, because this is not about nepotism, but if you happen to know somebody or someone that they will maybe just put your name in somebody's ear, but it doesn't matter. You still have to do all this on your own. And at the time, my mom's brother, my uncle, was a huge TV producer at NBC at Nightline. It was a very big show in the evening. He was an executive producer. He just happened to put me in touch with the right person. I had to do everything on my own. So I remember the last round. I made it to the last round. Don't quote me, but there was hundreds that applied. The last round was like, maybe it was down to 10, 12 of us. And what they did is they put us all in the same room, in the conference room, and asked us all the same questions. They interviewed us together. Nobody was prepared for that. And the reason why I was least prepared is because I went last. And when I heard everybody, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, chess club, president of it, and I was like, I mean, I play sports, I'm amazing, but I didn't go to an Ivy League school. And as cool as I thought I was, and I got to me, I was like, I shrunk down so small and I was not confident in my answers in that last round. And I knew I wasn't going to make it. And then the reality came that I didn't. And I was gutted, shattered, devastated. I remember like, I'm not a page. I'm not going to be. It was like everything was over, done. And that rejection was so heavy at the time. It's like your first breakup with a boyfriend dumps you, right? And it weighed on me for a while. But then I went into my family's commercial real estate business. Well, that's a lie. I've been working for my dad since I was 12. And when I started getting rejected in commercial real estate, there weren't a lot of female brokers then. And these guys would hang up on me. Hi, I'm Robert's daughter. Do you want to sell your 100 units in Brooklyn? No, click, no. And I was like, not really that big of a deal. I was rejected as a page, but I think in my early 30s, rejection became I was like, whatever, it's a part of life. It builds our character. But in that moment when it happened, oh my God, Dagmar, it was like my world was ending. I couldn't believe I didn't make the program. And I told everyone about it because I was so sure I was going to get it. So rejection for me is so important to experience. People are scared of it. I don't shy away from it. I can get rejected right now, and I said, okay, whatever. Whether it's personal, whether it's business, I don't get a deal, something doesn't happen. It's okay. But we need to prepare younger people, men and women, because if you're not prepared, it's going to be a very rude awakening.
They say in the United States, especially when you're in sales jobs, that you should look for the no. So more no you get, the better it prepares you for the yes. Isn't that like
100%.
that?
Yeah, it's like 100 no's before you get a yes in any sales job. You're absolutely right. My dad had me, it's like I tell this story to everyone. All my friends were at Jewish sleepaway camp in the summer, 12, 14 years old. And I'm hitting the phones, 14 years old, calling big, huge New York developers, seeing if they'll sell their apartment buildings or shopping centers or their office buildings, and they're hanging. What? Who is this? I'm like, it's Bob's daughter. They're like, go to camp, go play tennis. But believe it or not, that summer, I helped my dad get a really big listing when I was like 14. But all those no's just to get the one yes is so satisfying.
Valid question. I just thought about like in business, right? What do you think about making your emotions connected with the rejection, like taking it personally?
Oh God, it's so hard to separate the two, especially when you're younger, right? Because what happens is young people, they have a very healthy ego, right? It could be in anything that you're doing, sports related, a guy, I can get any girl I want, right? I was, Dagmar, if I was ever more convinced and you said to me, what bet are you going to put on this? I would have bet my parents' house in the mortgage that I was going to get that job because I was so confident and because I was so cool. And I want to make something really clear to women and young people and men. It doesn't matter that I didn't go to an Ivy League college. That's not why I didn't get it. I want to be very clear because NBC, again, wasn't about nepotism and which Ivy League school. Shout out to Harvard and Princeton and UPenn and all those schools. Of course, I would have loved to have gotten into one of those, but I was not a great test taker. I was more, a hustler, street smart. Still did well in school, but didn't go to an Ivy League college. That's not the reason why. I went in there too confident and not prepared to be sitting in a group with all these other people and having to answer the questions in a group setting like that. That was really good for me and a slap in the face and an eye opener. Years later, I look back and said, that was good. But in the moment, I left between my tail and my legs like, oh my God. So the emotional part is, again, when you're younger and you're not as mature and you don't have that deeper sense of who you are and that inner strength and confidence, it's very hard to separate the emotional. Even when you do get older, if you're working on something, sales is a great example, right? Because sales jobs are the most difficult to have. And the rejection from that, whether it's from your superior or someone you think you're about to do business with and it ends up not happening. But I'm a firm believer of if people like you, they will do business with you. So as you grow and you mature and you take that emotional side out, and over the last 2 years, you've said this to me a lot, take the emotion out, keep it just to business, put the emotion to the side, get the job done. And I thank you for that because you have to try to find a way to separate it. It's very difficult, but if you can do it, I think you'll be more successful.
Yeah, good question.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you because I'm going to ask you the same question. Can you kind of give your version of what you think rejection means to you, more specifically in business and preparing younger people, and a story where you were rejected and it actually made you stronger?
Yeah. I think all people, no matter if young or old, men or women, have a challenging time with rejection. And especially, like, I love the American entrepreneurship and the culture totally, because it really teaches you to take risks and to focus on your goal and not focus on failure. Like, there's so many cultures worldwide where failure is like your death, and you avoid the failure, but then you avoid the growth, right? So it really makes it challenging. And this is something I will be forever grateful, having this experience and exploring that. And I think in the last year, what was game changing for me was I always was an overachiever, workaholic, worker bee. And in business, I barely had to deal with rejection, because, you know, if you always deliver, over deliver, the clients, the bosses, they're always happy. So last year I had a client, and whenever we had meetings and asked questions, they just blew them off, like didn't allow questions, or what is the English word when they make it little, like
Belittle.
belittle the question. And I got so frustrated over it. And then at one point I felt rejected. So every time when I wanted to ask a question, it was the same reaction. So then I stopped asking the question. And I really, my energy shifted and everything. And it was a situation I did not have to deal with in my life before, like that I
Did
did
you
not.
feel like it affected your work moving forward with the client and how you produced?
No, because I always do what's right. Like, I always produce, I always deliver. It's my work. I do not allow my client or bosses to define my work quality or what I deliver. No, it's my work. It's just that I had really a hard time. And for me, it's important to have connections with my clients for an energy exchange, and that made it harder. And then a friend of mine introduced me to human design, and it's perhaps not a philosophy, but I would describe it as a philosophy where it defines how you use your energy. So everybody uses their energy differently, and there are generators and projectors and reflectors and manifestors. And so I did the test, and I found out I'm a projector. So my energy type is low. I feed from others. I feed from that others ask me questions and see me as the authority. And that's how I thrive. And that's why I study so much and learn so much and always do my best to, like, be really knowledgeable in the niches I want to be seen and heard. And part of that was that if you don't feel heard or seen, and there are no questions asked, you create bitterness. You feel rejected because of this. So it was less about the client. It was just the wrong client for me, right? Because I have other clients, and they appreciate and they value what I bring to the table. And they ask me questions how things should be done. And it was a learning experience to recognize, first, to have an awareness. What is it, right? What do I feel in what situation? What triggers me? And then evaluate what exactly is it? Is it good for me? Does it bring me good energy? Do I feel good about it? Or does it drain me and is negative energy for me? And if it drains me and is negative energy for me, I just move on. And that really was an aha moment for me, that it's my choice to move on and to find situation where I feel heard and seen and respected and recognized. So that was big for me, because I never had to deal with that in this amount of, like, It happened so many times, I cannot tell you, over a year. And I was grateful to find this human design formula, because now I consciously choose with whom I want to work or with whom I want to be. Friendships too, that appreciate me and see me and respect me, and not belittle me, if that makes sense.
Everything you just said makes sense. You always make sense. And I think that as we get older, we decide who we want in our lives, whether it's in business, personally, family. Sometimes maybe family's bringing you down. And we put up our boundaries, what we allow and what we don't allow. But
Yeah.
there's something specific that you said, and I think this is important for younger women, right? Because a lot of them are thinking, what career path do I want to go down? Maybe someone just graduated from an Ivy League school and that their parents want them to become doctors or lawyers or fourth generation attorneys or whatever it may be, accountants, and they don't want to. But I have a question for you, because I feel the same way that you do. What if a younger person, and this, by the way, is going to be in our coaching courses. Our coaching offerings are available on our website, ProblemSolvHer.com. Just for everyone, I'm just going to plug that really quickly. What would you say to a young woman who's in a job right now? She's in her 20s. She's living in New York City. She has to pay the bills. She's from Chicago, or, she's from the Midwest, and she got her dream and she's living in New York and she's has a fabulous, career. And she woke up and said, my bosses and my superiors are not appreciating me. They don't appreciate my work. They don't respect my work, and they don't respect my boundaries. How does she, A, find the courage to leave that job, and B, what is she going to do financially, right? Because she needs to pay the bills to live in New York City.
So you just said she's living the dream. So if her dream is living in New York City and her dream is not connected with the job she's in, then the best would be to find another job where you feel respected and seen. And if it's not possible, if she has to try it, not just once. Like my younger sister, I think to get a job with a law company, she had to send out like 100 applications, right? So, and then my question would be, if you cannot find the job you want to live the dream New York City, is there another city you could live the dream with? Don't make yourself depending on that there's only one dream, right? Like problem solver, there's never only one solution. Perhaps the solution you focus on is not the solution you can get or you can reach. So it's always good to have a solution B or C you can go after.
I like that. Don't just have an A, have a B and C. Backups are important. That's so powerful what you just said. There's not only one dream. And I think when we put so much emphasis on that, and I'll use athletes as an example, that's all they want to do since the age they were 8 years old, 10 years old. Tiger Woods is playing golf at 4. The Serena Venus Williams were playing tennis at 8, 9. If you only have one dream and you follow that dream and then that dream becomes something, at some point you have to change. People cannot be professional athletes in their 50s, because 50 in a sport is like 80 years old in real life. So what do you do after that? What are there, you don't just retire at 40 years old. So I think that's a really important thing, is that you can't just have one dream for your life. You have to have always aspiring for new dreams, right?
Yeah, I think you have to be adaptable. Not have to. You want to be, have to is means like somebody else tells you what to do. You want to be adaptable, right? If one thing is not working out, what is something else you would love to do? And if you don't know what, then some people journal. Journal is not my thing.
It's not mine either. That's so funny.
Yeah.
I
So
would think that you do journal.
No,
But you and I we're right here. It's all in here. I don't need to.
right.
I have enough
So,
stuff going on. I don't need to write all these
so
things.
for me, I analyze myself, what I really feel light, in what situation feel light and joy and happy naturally without that I have to do anything.
Mm,
And that's how I would figure out in what other direction I want to go.
that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, rejection it's a part of life. It's a part of who we are, and
Yeah.
it's okay. And
Yeah.
I would tell people to invite it in because again, if you're not ready for it, there's a rude awakening coming, and it's okay. Even people like the best looking man ever to live, like a Brad Pitt, he was rejected. He didn't get every movie when he started in his career, right? Everyone has some form of rejection. You might be someone who was born into an extremely, generational wealthy family. That's okay. You're still going to get rejected, right? So rejection comes in different forms at different stages in our life. And I think it's important that we discussed that today so that our listeners can hopefully just take a couple sprinkles from what we just said and use it in their everyday lives. And
Yeah.
I know if we don't stop soon, you're going to, because you and I, this could go, this conversation could go on all weekend and then it'll be like a marathon.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the last thought, I think it's every situation is different. Every person is different in a situation. There's really no cookie cutter approach. What works for me maybe or for sure not works for you. So I think it's really important if somebody is serious about solving their problem, finding solutions, that they just reach out to us. And then Chloe and I were always happy to chat and see if we are a good fit and how we can help you.
I love that. For us to coach, it has to be the right fit,
Right.
obviously. It has to be synergistic between both parties so that we can help you reach that goal. And again, you can find our coaching offerings on ProblemSolvHer.com. There's no E on solve, people, just so you know. Others have been asking me that. Problem Solve Her, no E, it's a play on words. And we have some new episodes out now on Spotify and Apple and YouTube. And we look forward to seeing you all soon. We have some great people coming up next week. And Dagmar, I love you.
Love you
Miss
too.
you.
Love you too. Please, everybody, subscribe and
Subscribe.
check out for new episodes.
Whoop,
Bye.
whoop. Have a good weekend, everybody.